Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hey, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Almost forgot to call it a podcast. I guess you can watch these on video or listen to it as a podcast. So really, it's a little bit of both. Okay, so today and it's very appropriate if you are watching video. I mean, I guess it's
Ooh,
orange,
yeah.
but we're talking red flags today. And we're talking red flags when it comes to clients, or really more so potential clients. What things should you be looking out for that might indicate there could be small to medium to major issues with the client or the project down the line? We've all been there. Every copywriter at some point has had a client where you go, oh my God, they're making me crazy. And often too, the when you look back at it, you go, oh, you know what? I did notice that at the beginning, and I let it slide. I went against my gut and I worked with them, and now here we are.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
I think the key is, though, to start that we can't know that there are red flags until we get on a call with a potential client or we exchange emails, at least. Maybe you see something in email that raises a yellow flag. But it's really hard when you're just looking at a potential client's website, someone you want to pitch, someone you're interested in, to even know if they'd be bad to work with or good to work with or whatever. So the underlying theme, I guess, for the episode and for really generally, I feel like our underlying theme is not making assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Don't make assumptions. Don't go, oh, well, I don't know about what they posted on social media, or maybe there's a typo, or I'm just making stuff up. But yeah, don't make assumptions before you pitch them. Go ahead and pitch them. Worst case scenario, you have a call with them and you go, nah, I don't think so. But then that just ends up being more practice for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
you do want to carefully evaluate these clients on these discovery calls, because once you have decided to work with them and once they have agreed to do a project with you, they've agreed to your proposal, professionally, you are kind of in it until the project is done. It would be very, very unprofessional to break your contract essentially and leave in the middle of a project. So I don't want to scare anyone. The vast majority of your clients are going to be fantastic, but there are just a few things that you will come across that that should be just kind of that should raise I don't know why I'm picturing an exclamation point. I spend too much time focused on emojis, but raise an exclamation point, raise a red flag that should make you evaluate whether or not you think this is someone that you want to work with. I think that it's important to go with your gut in a lot of different things. If your gut is going, or wherever you feel in your body, going, something's not right here, or oh, go with your gut. It's probably likely that you're feeling that for a reason. And I think especially newer copywriters are very tempted to just go, no, I want this client, I need this work, I'm just going to push on through. If you're feeling that at the very beginning, there's a good chance that maybe this isn't the right client for you. And don't forget too, before we go into this, there are so many clients out there. You don't need this one client. There are millions of clients out there. We're recording this right now while we're in the middle of the Pitchapalooza, which is our yearly free event for our students to kind of get them. They can obviously start pitching at any point in the year, but it's kind of a good way to start out the year and get people excited and pitching. And then of course, for people who join afterwards, there are all the recordings so they can participate as well. But we're talking about pitching, and we just had the students come up with a list of 50 potential clients. And as always, students go, oh, 50 clients, I don't know. And invariably they post in the group, they say, I started at 50, and then when I started going, I just kept going, and I got to 200. I can't believe how much is out there, which is a very long way of saying, if this client is giving you the heebie-jeebies, we don't use that often enough. If this client is giving you the straight up heebie-jeebies, you do not let this client go. You do not need this client. There's so many clients out there, so many clients to pitch. there's so much more need for good copywriters than a copywriters to fill it. So
Mm-hmm.
don't hang on to this client for dear life if this is a client that's just going to make you miserable.
Yeah, and if you're having trouble sorting through kind of the feelings that come with even your first handful, your first few months of clients, even if you've done this for years, you still might have trouble. You might be like excited, but also nervous, but also there's a lot going on. So write down what you are feeling like the red flags are, and then make sure compare that. Is it really the red flags, or is it really just, ooh, this is going to be a challenge? This is going to be,
Mm,
I'm pushing myself outside the comfort zone. And so if you have reasons of like, and we'll go over some reasons to look for, so you'll have the list that you can kind of compare. But one thing to note is making sure it's not just, oh, I'm a little nervous to do a project outside my comfort zone.
yeah, yeah, that's a great point. There is the nerves of getting on a call with a potential client, eek, and then there's the, oh, something here's
Mm,
not right. Yes. Okay, so
yeah.
let's get into those red flags without further ado.
Yes.
The red flags. Uh, First one I would say, and I wouldn't say there's even any specific order, so we're just going to
No order.
throw
Yeah.
them out at you. Take notes as you will. Um, for me, I think a big red flag is when you talk to a client who is just really disorganized with their marketing plans, with what they want, with what they need. They're just kind of throwing. It's one thing to be in a brainstorming session with a potential client, right? And discovery calls can be like, oh, we could do that, or we could do that, or we could do that. But when they're constantly pivoting, going, oh, we want to do that. Well, but we also need to do that. We need to do this at this time. And when you get the vibe that there's just a lot of disorganization and they're not really clear on what it is they want to do or when they want to do it or that kind of thing, to me, that's a big red flag. Because when you come in as the copywriter, you end up trying to like keep up with the chaos and maybe try to manage some of the chaos so you can do your job, but they're constantly redirecting and pivoting, which means that you have to constantly be redirecting and pivoting, and you're constantly running around, and it makes you crazy. So if on that initial call it's less brainstorm and more brain tornado, just kind of chaos in terms of what they're going to do and when they're going to do it and how this is going to happen. If this is the energy, this chaos is the energy during the initial discovery call, then there's a good chance that chaos is going to carry on through the rest of the project and then some.
Yeah, and I think that's before this we were talking about, those types of projects where you're trying to rein in that chaos and you end up doing a bunch of work up front to try to help them, try to get them to a point where you can even quote and scope the project. And so you're doing all of this mental energy, but also just actual work of trying to figure out what a scope for this project would be to even quote them. And that's work, that's time, that's your valuable, that's money left on the table essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so inevitably, yes, you want to work with clients and help them figure it out. But if it's just pulling at straws and you're not getting anywhere, that might be a good time to say, nah, come back when you have a little bit more to work with.
Yeah.
A little more organization.
Yeah, exactly. Come back and you've got your stuff together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that I think people should be careful of is being careful of clients who are absolutely brand new to business. And I think you tend to see this right now in the digital space, the digital entrepreneur space. Obviously, you can see it in brick and mortars and all that kind of thing. Certainly less so in the corporations. But you are much more likely to encounter brand new entrepreneurs in the digital space. And what I mean is that they have just started their business. Maybe they've sold a little bit, but they have just started it. And the problem is when they are brand new, they don't really yet know how to market, and they don't know what strategies to use, and they don't know. And that can be an opportunity if you want to do some coaching, if you're a little bit more knowledgeable, if you as a copywriter are more knowledgeable of marketing systems and you want to do some coaching of them, and you're willing to do that. And of course, be paid for it. But I found too that when they are brand new, they tend to make plans and estimates and build things that don't really have much chance for success. And unfortunately, what that leads to is them being upset and you having to be like, well, this was your pro. The example I'm thinking of is I had a call several years ago now, but with a very nice woman that I met at I don't know, some event, and she was interested in hiring me as a copywriter. And I said, all right, well, let's hop on a call and chat. And absolutely. And I said, okay, so what are you working on? What's your plan? She said, well, okay, so I hired a Facebook agency and they're going to be running ads. I said, that's fantastic. And she said, they're going to be, I'm selling, this is my first product. I don't really have an audience yet. I'm going to be selling a $3,000 coaching program. So the Facebook ads are going to go directly to the sales page for this $3,000 coaching program. So I need your help to write the sales page. Now, if you are listening to the podcast, Kate is cringing.
My eyes are bulging.
And her eyes are
They're coming out of my skull.
Because here's the thing, this woman had no audience. Nobody knew who she was. Nobody trusted her. And she was expecting, and quite frankly, this Facebook ads company was not doing any favors either. But to send cold traffic, people had no idea who she was, to a $3,000 program, directly to the sales page. No nurturing, no information about her except what's on the sales page. Nobody's going to buy that. She's going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars and nobody's going to buy that. And I mean, yes, if I had been if I were if I had a lot less integrity, sure, I could have taken the program, taken the work, written her a very, very good sales page. But it didn't matter how well I wrote that sales page. I don't know if you can even call it a funnel, if it's 2 steps, it was fundamentally flawed. And which means that she would have been disappointed. I'm sure that also partially because she's new to business, she would have blamed me.
I was going to say, it reflected poorly on you.
Exactly.
By no fault of your own.
Yes. Except for the fact that I would have said, I should have said, you can't send cold traffic to a $3,000 sales page. And so I said, another good thing to ask too is, especially among digital entrepreneurs, is like, oh, okay, who are you learning from? Are you getting coached, or are you following anyone? Or because if they're getting coached, if they have a mentor, if they're in a mastermind, or if they're in some kind of program, even if they're brand new, theoretically, they should have someone helping them learn how to do this. But if they're like, oh, I follow so-and-so and I follow so-and-so and I signed up for some free stuff, they're out there in the wind and they have no idea what they're doing. And again, if you want to play the role of that marketing coach, and I certainly could have at this stage in my career, I certainly could have said, okay, let's dial this back and let me teach you how to actually get sales. I could have done that, but I didn't want to do that. So I said, I think your program sounds great. I think it sounds like you can help a lot of people, but this is not the way to sell it. You're going to put a lot of money into this, and you're not going to get results. And unfortunately, there are some newer entrepreneurs who think that if they just pay for stuff, well, if I pay for a Facebook ads agency, and if I pay for a copywriter, then that's going to result in sales to my program. And unfortunately, that's just, if it were that easy, boy, oh boy, if it were that easy. And it's just not. So sometimes brand new copywriters can have expectations and plans and that you can never live up to.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully that was a green flag for her, though, to realize that you had the integrity to say, no, I'm not going to take this project on, because, if you had, that'd be a red flag the other way of you just taking it on to pocket some cash and say, okay, thanks, bye.
Best of luck to you. You clearly have your credit card out. Let me just take that and here you go.
And what some folks may notice is that some of these points may overlap. So you might have someone brand new to business who's also wildly disorganized and chaotic, or vice versa. You might cover a lot of these points. The next one is
2 red flags.
Yeah, exactly. A collection of red flags, then or even yellow, orange. If you have a collection starting, then you really know.
Yeah.
But the next one, when clients think their audience is everyone, is another one, which might also be indicative of them being new to business. It might not. It might just be that they think everyone is going to buy their product or service. But as CCA students know, and many copywriters hopefully know, that's just a recipe for wildly ineffective copy. How can you speak to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't solved that yet.
No, and you would never need to solve it because there's
Yeah.
nothing that needs to be sold to everyone, that's
Everyone. Yeah.
consumed by water. Okay, well,
Well,
but we
but
don't
then you have like the
sell
boxed
tap water.
water, and then you
Exactly.
have
Yes.
Dasani, and then you have smart water. Those are
Mhm.
all very different water. Granted, I'm a tap person, and I don't know that the water company is really advertising to me about New York
Well,
City's
see, there you
finest
go.
water.
That's you're right. It's even water is not everyone if it's
Yeah.
water for
And then you
sale.
have Brita, so I'm a Brita person because the tap, perfect
Interesting.
example, I
Boy,
feel like,
Britta's
of
done its marketing well. Kate is a Brita person.
I'm a Brita
Fascinating.
person.
Fascinating.
Are
It's
you a
become
Brita
a
person? Do you have a
persona.
Brita?
No, I'm a
Oh,
tap girl. Yeah,
with no filter.
no filter. I know. It's
Brave in the
yeah. I'm living on the edge. I'm living on the edge.
getting some good micro whatever
Yeah.
in
Here's
here.
here's
Gut
something.
bacteria.
Anyway,
Anyway.
um, another one to keep an eye out for is we've talked before about copy tests, and copy tests are very reasonable. After
Mhm.
all, when clients are hiring someone they've never worked with before, it's inherently a little bit of a risk. Whenever any of us are hiring anyone to do something for us, whether they're hiring a copywriter, you're hiring a plumber, I mean, you can read the testimonials and you can meet with them and they can seem like a good person, but it's just inherently a little bit of a risk. And so a copy test for a client can help ameliorate that, can help make it better, and it's a totally reasonable thing to request. A small project, a project that should take a copywriter like maybe a half hour or so. What you're looking to do is to demonstrate that you can write in their brand voice and then just demonstrate the way that you strategize a bit. And of course,
Mhm.
that's exactly what the client is looking to see. And yes, historically, copy tests have been kind of part of the interview process. Although I will say that there is more and more of a trend toward paid copy tests, which,
Mhm.
yeah, is fair. But anyway, where you get into problems is when the client wants to give you a copy test that is, and for your podcast listeners, that was in quotes, a copy test that is really long. That is
Mhm.
like, can you write me a sales
Can you write
page?
me my sales page? Yeah.
Exactly. Or can you
Can
write
you write my
me,
homepage? Can you
yes,
write a welcome series? Can you write?
I would say even a full email,
Yeah,
unless it's even a full email would be
unless it's paid.
unless it's paid, absolutely. Um, it's it's way too much work for
Mhm.
free. Now, again, if it's paid, fantastic, super duper. But for free, it's setting a really bad precedent of putting them in this place of power and wielding that over you, and you have to do free things to get this work, and that's not a dynamic that you want to be in. And especially too, I always advise entrepreneurs that if they want to do a free test, which they can, I always recommend paying, but if they really really feel strongly about a free test, it can't be anything they're going to use, right?
Mhm.
Because that's just
Mhm.
not fair.
Yeah.
If you could do a paid test, and then if you paid for it, then yes, you can use that copy. But if you didn't, if you did a free test, then no, the entrepreneur should not be using that copy. Which can be another, if it's a free test, but they're intending on using it. That is another thing that you should be
Yeah,
raising
it's
an
a
eyebrow
big.
at. And you're also within your rights. Again,
Mhm.
you are not beholden to any of these clients. There's so many clients out there. You are completely within your rights to say when they say, can you write this? Can you write the sales page for me? You can write whatever this long copy test is, and to say, a copy test. I'm certainly happy to do a copy test. I understand that you want to see what my writing style is like and if I can get your brand voice, but this is a long project and generally copy tests tend to be a half hour or less. So how about I write this for you instead? You can come back
Mhm.
and suggest what you're willing to do. It doesn't have to be a no, I'm not going to do that. It can be, hey, I'd love to write this for you instead, or write this portion of it, or whatever. You can do that. Or,
And
and
their response might help you determine whether they're a red flag client or not, because you might be educating them. They might not know. They might know, oh, I need to give a copy test,
mhm.
and they might not even realize what they're doing or what they're asking of you.
Yeah, exactly,
But
exactly. And then on the other side of that coin, if they come back and say, oh, every copywriter I've ever worked with has been
mhm,
totally willing to do this, and who do you think? Then
cool.
walk away fast. Walk away fast.
hmm
And then same time too, if you say, I'm willing to do this for you, and they say, no, we really need the sales page, you say, well, then I can price that out for you as a project if you'd like.
hmm
But I'm unable to do that much work for free, which
hmm
of course, right? We're unable to do that much work for free. We have other clients who will pay us. So if you're dealing with a client who is not willing to pay you for a lot of work, guess what? Big, blazing red flag.
hmm
And if they're willing to do this when they haven't even started working with you yet, that's 100% going to carry, that's going to carry through the rest of the project, and is going to indicate other difficulties with what they
hmm
expect from you and what they think they deserve from you. You
hmm
don't want to get into that.
Yeah, it's another big case too of where you don't want to make assumptions. So if they ask you to do a copy test and you're assuming it's paid, or you're assuming, oh yeah, for this volume of work, it's got to be, make sure you get that on the table before you do anything. Or clarify that, if they did ask for a project, hey, are you assuming this is free? Blah, 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 blah. Have the
Mm-hmm.
conversation before anything begins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
The next couple of points I feel like are all a little bit tied together in terms of expecting clients when they expect you to do work during crazy hours. And I feel like typically this often is with clients who are making everything feel very rushed, even when it's not. So they might expect you, oh, you're going to work over the weekend, right? Or you're going to be online during our business hours, or whatever it is. They want you on their schedule. That should all be a conversation, obviously, up front. If you can and you're willing and you can be on when they need you to be on or whatever, great. But it shouldn't be an expectation that they're telling you when to work. That's at that point, they could hire you as an employee. That's one of the rules, I feel like, of being determining if you are on staff, a W-2 employee versus a freelancer or indoor contractor, is that your employer, the person you're working with, can't tell you when to work if you are a freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the
Yeah,
deal.
legally
Legally.
also they
Yeah.
cannot tell you when to work.
Yeah.
Legally in the United States, and I
hmm
assume overseas, because overseas tend to have better laws. Um,
hmm
it's a sad truth, but it's the fact. Yeah, legally they cannot tell you when to work. Now, if a
hmm
company wants to control your work, not control it, but wants to know that they have a guaranteed amount of your time per week, then you could discuss a retainer project with them. But yeah, a
hmm
client that doesn't have any boundaries and treats you as if you are an employee who's available at all times to answer questions, to pick this project up, to do that kind of stuff, does not understand the relationship and doesn't understand how you two should be working together.
hmm
You are not at their beck and call, and you don't have to be at their beck and call. If you are willing to be at their beck and call, they better flip and pay for it.
hmm Yeah, I've had clients that, they'll email me at like 5 p.m. or after 5 p.m. on a weekday. And so I'll leave it. That's become my thing. I don't answer emails that come in after 5 p.m. my time. I don't want to get in the habit of being that responsive and want to step away from my computer, as I should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and so I've had clients then email after 5, and then the next morning at like 10 a.m. follow up and be like, hey, did you get this? I need a response. And so my policy really is to, within 24 hours, I want to get back to all of my emails. I'm not going to let people wait. But when a client's coming after, I barely signed online and been online for an hour, and you're following up with me already and don't have the patience to wait just a little bit longer, for me, that starts to get to be a little bit not the kind of environment I want to be in personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah. And there's a difference too
look
between
out for
that and a genuine emergency, where a client emails you and is
yes.
like, oh my gosh, something happened or whatever. I discovered that I had to get this piece in by this date to make sure it gets printed. I'm so sorry. Can you help me? Nah. Okay,
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
things happen, and you can decide whether or not to accommodate your client. Might be a good thing to accommodate them if this is a one-time thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
if they're consistently emailing you in the off hours and expecting you to check your email in the off hours and answer them in the off hours, no,
Mhm.
no. The very simple answer to that is no.
No.
No, thank
Well, and
you.
too, I want to point out to your example because, saying, oh my gosh, so sorry that this happened and I didn't realize, and blah, 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 blah. So when the client takes responsibility for it and knows that it was, oh my gosh, this is on me, but I'm looking to you for help, I am much more amenable to help a client out in that situation than when they have just not planned and they're rushing and they're not taking responsibility for the fact that this is only a rush because they messed up their planning.
Because they messed up their planning or because they forgot to send. I've certainly had clients like that where I was, doing a great job plugging away and and then all of a sudden I'd say, "Oh, this is due tomorrow. Is that going to be coming soon?" And I say, "I'm sorry, what's due
There's
tomorrow?"
our last communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? "Oh, I forgot to send this through to you, but it's due tomorrow. Is this something that you can do?" Now, I think actually in that case, I had some time that day and was like, yes. However, for the future, I can never guarantee this amount of time will
Mm-hmm.
be free. I have other clients, and of course, they require just as much of my time, commitment, and I was going to say responsibility, but that's not quite right. But time and commitment and
Mm-hmm.
respect, that's probably a
Yeah.
better one,
Yeah.
as
You
you
don't want
do.
people cutting the line just willy
Exactly.
nilly. You have
Exactly.
systems. Yeah.
And when you say it's because I have multiple clients and I have to be responsive to all of them and I have to dedicate time to all of them. So unfortunately, I won't generally be able to drop what I'm doing to do something for you. If I'm able to and I can accommodate that, I might be able to, but or I
Mm-hmm.
should say if I can accommodate that, I might be able to. I wouldn't even guarantee that if I can,
Mm-hmm.
I will. No. It's your schedule. If I'm able to, I may be able to, or if I can. What are the words I'm looking for? If I have the time in my schedule, I may be able to, but generally, I won't be able to turn things around on this quick
Mm-hmm.
of a time frame. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to start establishing boundaries, whether you have a problem client or whether you just like. I think in general, this was a really great client, but I was working with a new project manager who was very green, nice girl, but very green, and kind of had no idea what she was doing, and so was probably, quite frankly, probably not just messing stuff up with me, probably with a bunch of other people too. But start, and she may not have ever worked with a freelancer before, so it
Mm-hmm.
was on me to, not on me, but it was helpful for us all for me to explain to her that I'm just not available whenever she needs me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she was counting on me to get this done for her so she didn't have to go to her boss and say, I messed up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's also giving her a lot of credit. She may have gone to her boss and said, oh, our copywriter didn't do it on time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Anyway.
It's, anyway. Who knows? Clients, clients, clients. Most of them are
Clients.
fantastic. Some of them make you crazy. And I
Yeah.
should say too that what we 3 stories. This is 3 stories we mentioned that I've mentioned maybe, and a couple of these stories I mention again and again. But this is 3 clients out of my 20-year career as a copywriter. I think I'm just going to start owning it and not saying
It's
more than
20. Yeah.
15. It's 20. It's
It's
20.
20. It's
It's
now going to
20.
be more than 20.
It's 20. I'm going to get myself a cake. That's going to make it feel better.
Yeah.
But 3 clients out of my 20-year career where I've been like, these people are, well, actually, there's one more, but so 4 out of my 20-year career that that have just been a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
Um, so
And I can
it's
think of like 2 off the top of my head, which I guess ratio wise is interesting that it works out similar, 10,
mhm,
10-ish years to maybe one that was like a little bit of a thorn in the side, but we, worked it out type of
mhm,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, so it's not going to come up a lot, but
No.
if this episode can save you from taking on some work from one of these clients, then we really, really hope that it does. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing to keep an eye out for is when a client wants to really get into the details of how you are coming up with your prices. When
Mm-hmm.
you send through your project proposal and they say, okay, can you send through a breakdown, or can you send through your hourly rate? Can you send through, the only reason that a client, I honestly can't think of any other reason. The only reason that a client would want that is if they want to see how it breaks down and they want to question how long you are allocating for something within there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we think you can do this faster, or we think you can write this faster, or we think it shouldn't take that much editing. How on earth do they know? No client has any right to question your rates, and they also don't have the right to see how the numbers that you based your rate on, or the numbers that you based your project price on, break down. They
Mm-hmm.
simply don't. I don't think I've, maybe once in my 20 years, 20, maybe once has a client ever asked me, and I said,
Yeah, I've only had it once.
yeah, I said I'm happy to answer any questions about how I came up with this, but I don't provide a breakdown to clients of this is the project price. If you'd like to move forward with it, great. If you want to talk it through, absolutely. But I don't provide a breakdown. And yeah,
Yeah.
if a client has a problem with that, bye.
Yeah. The only time I'll break it down is if it's like, I'm doing a bunch of emails and then like a web page or something. So I'll be like, here's the project price for the web page, here's the
Yes.
project price for the emails, but I don't do it further either. And again, only once
Mhm.
in 10 years. And even then it worked out. And I'm thinking actually, because it was so recent, one of our coaches in the CCA had this happen with a client who asked, like, I want to know what's your hourly breakdown for this. And I think the ending was she hopped on a call with the client, and the client just said, this is what I'm used to for other writers. And our coach explained, well, here's why I do project pricing, and then that way for your budget what the project's going to cost. We're not going to do hour, and it's going to
Mhm.
add up, and you don't know what the project's going to cost in the end. And they worked it out, and the client was totally fine. It just required a conversation because they weren't used to that,
They
I guess,
weren't
other
used to
writers. So
professional copywriters.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it all worked out. So all that's to say is, like, ooh, that was a red flag. She hopped on the call though, and it became okay. Nope, this worked out, and this is okay. So all that's to say is some of these red flags, again, don't immediately run, but definitely listen to your gut, then communicate with your client to get the information you need to confirm whether this is red flags all over, or okay, this is just a misunderstanding, miscommunication,
Mhm.
whatever. um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Ooh, it comes up
when
again.
clients
Don't
might,
assume.
yeah, exactly. But when they ask you to
Mhm.
break down your prices, it's maybe they want you to do like by the word, God forbid, or they want, like, I want this for free, or let me whittle you down, let's bargain for a lower price because I've worked with another writer who was lower, whatever it is.
Mhm.
None of it is necessarily good when they start to undervalue your work.
Well, and too, someone who's requesting a breakdown of your hours, it could be that is at a larger company. It could be that the person that is approving your proposal said, "No, I don't know. This is more than I was planning on spending." I don't know why they have this accent, but they do. They all do. This is more than I was planning on spending. Find out how
They also
these
have a monocle.
have a monocle. Find out how these hours break down. And then this poor person has to come back to you because their boss said, "Can I ask you how the hours break down?" And then you simply educate them and say, "No, this is the price." And don't think too that if you say, "No, this is the price," and if it's more than they were expecting to pay, that's the end of the conversation, because it's not. Our students know that negotiating is. I mean, go back and listen to the Susie Tomanchuk episode. No is just the beginning of the
Mhm.
conversation. Then at that point, you can have, if it's more than they were willing to pay, great. You two can have a conversation, but you are the only one who knows where there is some give in your project price. It's not up to them to figure out how long it's going to take you to write a sales page or whatever, to go into your numbers and be like, let's shave an hour off this 10 to write these 3 emails or whatever. That's how do they know how long it takes you to do something? You're the only one who can make changes to, if you want to, you don't even have to, but you're the only one who can make changes to your estimates and your price and all that kind of thing. So a lot of things to think about and a lot of things to keep an eye out for. But like Kate said at the beginning of the episode, these are kind of things, if you're getting that gut feeling, this is a good list just to kind of check against and say, is one of these why I'm getting that I don't know about this client kind of feeling? Because before you get on a client call, there are usually some nerves. There's some nervousness because you want to do well and you want to get the project, and maybe you're just nervous about talking to a new client. And yes, that's very natural. Every once in a while, I will still get nerves before talking to a new client just because I'm excited and I want the project, or I'm excited to hear more about it and want to present myself well. But it's a different feeling from, oh, I'm nervous about this call versus, oh no, something is not right. And if you're feeling that, again, to Kate's point, if you're feeling that, have a conversation to clarify that and talk about, if you have to set boundaries. If you have to explain to them why you don't do something, fine. If you have to dig in and figure out just the level of disorganization that is actually going on in order to make a decision, do so. But you, at every point in your career, you have the right to take clients that you want to take and not take clients that you don't want to take. And if you're getting that, like, something is not right. I mean, I can't tell you how many postings we have in the group of, it's almost always, whenever someone is like, this clients turn out to be a little bit of a pain for XYZ reason. And almost always they say, I was kind of thinking this at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I kind of was worried about XYZ, or, I was kind of thinking this might be a problem, but I kept going anyway. If you keep going with it, you're going to be stuck with a project that is a pain, and a client that is a pain, and it's going to drain your energy. It's going to take up more time than it's worth, and it's going to be frustrating. You're going to need to recover from this copywriting project, and that's not how it should be. So if you're feeling in your gut that something is not right, you do not need this client. There's so many clients out there. If it makes you feel more comfortable, whenever you say no to a client, send out 5 pitches. Or whatever, if it makes you feel even more, send out 10 pitches, whatever makes you go, all right, I'm saying no to this, but I'm opening the door to a bunch more opportunities. Because that's exactly what you're doing when you balance that out that way. Let that client go and reach out to, 5 or 10 or whatever. Students know that once you start writing those pitches, you get good at it, you get fast. But go with your gut. Don't make assumptions. Communicate with clients, but go with your gut. Okay, so we definitely hope this one helped you. Well, we hope they all help you, but this one in particular we think is going to keep you from going down a miserable road. Definitely let us know if it does, and let us know if you've had problem clients in the past and if you have ignored that little gut feeling. But until then, we will catch you in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.